Hi, on today's episode, we'll be talking about Snowfall and the stupidity of a lot of the characters in that show. I think by far, this show has been something that I think it's classified it as its own masterpiece. I think I didn't give it the right enough time to disperse in my mind and just think about it. Think about the plot. Think about the storyline. Think about the characters and how they're involved with one another. I binge watched the first two seasons, I think, last year when I was in Mexico in December, and I really enjoyed the series. And throughout the year, I finished it like 2 months ago, a month ago, and I think before I forget, I'd like to talk about it. And it was at the beginning, it was sort of an experience that picked up pretty fast. I I think it lagged more so at the end when they were getting everything together. I think it was at a good pace, but at how many seasons they were at, I think it should have been faster, and the story could have progressed way faster in my head. I really enjoy the character of Franklin Franklin Saint. I think the character building from beginning to end was a masterclass. I think from the get go it was just getting out the ghetto for him, getting out, just getting out good, but by his own terms. He's always wanted to become his own boss. And I think with the ability of the leadership he had since the get go, since even when he was scared of confrontation, even when he was at the point where he did not know anything about guns, he did not want to mess with guns. He was just, I'm business. That's it. That's what he told others he was about. He had other people do his dirty work. And I think when the character of Franklin Say really started to develop into a manipulative mastermind and all about money, it was more so like at the end, more so around like season 3.5, I think, when he started, um spoilers ahead, when he started killing people of his own and not being remorseful, because there was times where, so talking about season 3.5, I think there's a very distinct change between season 2 and season 3, where becomes more money driven than anything. He's he's obsessed with money. I think in the beginning stages, he's controlling. He has the control of, I have the money. He doesn't let it consume him as much as it leads to consume him up until the end. And I think there's a drastic difference between what we see Franklin as in the beginning and more towards the end. It's something that I think he himself wouldn't be proud of, so driven by money and control, and so dumb with his decisions with people, with decisions that he did to other people, that he let people do to him. And I think it wasn't totally his fault, even though he has a major part in it. I think a lot of to do what was wrong with the family was Louis, Jerome's wife, and I think she just didn't have enough. She didn't feel like she had enough. She wanted more, and I think it was so selfish of her to want more. And I hated her for a couple seasons. For the couple, I think the last two seasons I hated her for sure. I think none of the things at the end had to happen. None of it. None of it at all. I think for it to be a great show, she had to be the villain. I hated the fact that her husband protected her so much and didn't see how manipulative and money driven she was, and how she just wanted Jerome. She wedged a big gap between Jerome and Franklin, say his nephew, to lead them into war. And I think throughout the seasons she got more and more and more and more and more obnoxious as a character. I didn't I didn't like her, but I knew she was necessary for the plot and to continue the story and to advance it. I didn't like her at all. She was garbanzo to me. And every time she was on screen, she'd do like some grimy ass stuff. And I wasn't messing with that at all. As an aunt to Franklin Saint, I think she wasn't, in her regard, she wasn't respected as much as she should have been. I do agree in some regards. And then there's the fact that there's the fact that she also led herself to where she is now, where she ended up being. I think she wasn't. She didn't have enough. I think it consumed her as much as it consumed Franklin, but it was just. I think Franklin's reaction and how he was as a person at the end was a reaction to how Louis was, what Louis was doing behind his back. And I think even though there's a big factor to be played with Franklin being responsible for his ending, his demise, I think Louis has a big part of it to do with that. I I did really like the soundtrack in this show. I really enjoyed this show and the highs and the lows. The borings were really boring, but I really enjoyed this show for what it was, what it stood for, what time period it stood for, what they were doing in the show. I'd give it a solid 8, 7.5. I think a lot of people might say that my scoring is a bit harsh or too, but I think it delivered a lot of lines that were so iconic to me that have been shown in edits and the such, that it's like a laughing stock type of thing. It's something to laugh at, and I don't think I really learned much. It was just a betrayal of someone losing themselves in greed and money and just the likeness of the drug world. And I think, would I rewatch this again? Probably not. I think after watching The Sopranos, well, I will talk about this pretty soon. I compare it a lot, and I think in some ways it's good to compare it, but in a lot of ways it's bad because I can't enjoy the shows or movies as much as I would if I didn't watch The Sopranos. Because I think a lot of movies, a lot of shows about drugs or anything of the sort are are what's it called? Less. They're way less than what Sopranos is. The atmosphere, the storytelling, the I'm not gonna get into that, but I'd rate it like a 7.5 to 8. Soundtrack 8 on the dot, and characters for the most part I hated them at the end. I don't know if that's what they're meant to do, but yeah, that's my review for Snowfall. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.